Welcome to Tales from the Crypt. Today's story is about the eternal bulb. Hello, my dear boils and ghouls. Your old pal, it's me. The Crypt Keeper is back with another tale for your twisted viewing pleasure. Ever find a bargain that seems too good to be true? A real steal. Tonight's dreadful little ditty is about a family who thought they'd found the perfect antique. A light bulb that never, ever burns out. A real bright idea, they thought. But they soon discover that some lights are meant to be extinguished. So snuggle up, kiddies, and get ready for a story I call The Eternal Bulb. Section 1, The Find. And let me introduce you to the Millers. About as ordinary a family as you could possibly stomach. David was a high school history teacher, obsessed with things most people forgot. His wife, Sarah, was a freelance graphic designer who did enough worrying for the both of them. And then there was 7-year-old Lily, a quiet girl with a huge imagination. They just moved into a sprawling, creaky Victorian on the edge of town, a fixer-upper with more character than their budget should have allowed. David loved the history soaked into the walls. Sarah loved the idea of what it could become. Lily, though, she wasn't so sure. The house was big, and the shadows were very, very long. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon when David found it, tucked away in a cluttered antique shop that smelled like dust and decay. He found a box of old electrical junk. Inside, he saw a single light bulb. It was bigger than a modern bulb, shaped like a pear with a filament coiled in a strange, almost living pattern. A faded label on its brass base read, "Eternal Lux, Eternal Light." The shopkeeper, a man with skin like old parchment, gave David an unsettling smile. "Ah, that old thing," he rasped. "They say it never goes out." A word of advice, though. Every light casts a shadow. Be mindful of what grows in the dark. David just shrugged it off as a sales pitch, paid the man $5 and left. That evening, he screwed the bulb into a brass floor lamp in their cavernous living room. It wasn't harsh or yellow. It was a warm, golden, almost liquid glow that seemed to hum with quiet energy. "Wow, David," Sarah said, squinting. "It's bright. It's beautiful," David shot back. "We'll never have to change it." Lily just stood in the doorway. The golden glow chased away the long shadows she hated. Mindful of what grows in the dark. Section 2. The light settles in. Weeks crept by, then a month. The eternal bulb, as they joked, became a permanent part of the house. It never flickered, never dimmed. It just cast its unwavering golden gaze over the living room, day and night, like a silent, luminous sentinel. The savings on the electric bill were tiny, but it made David happy. But the ordinary fabric of their lives started to fray. It began with Lily. She started spending all her time in the living room, playing on the floor right under the lamp. Sarah would find her there, lost in her own world, whispering to someone who wasn't there. When she asked who Lily was talking to, the girl would just smile and say, "Mr. Flicker. He lives in the light," Sarah tried telling David, but he just waved it off. "She's just adjusting, honey," he'd say. A shadow in the hallway seemed to stretch and then shrink. Even the bulbs seemed different. Rhythmic beat like a sleeping heart. He told himself his eyes were playing tricks on him. David grew obsessed, possessive of the bulb. He spent hours online searching for eternal lux but found nothing. It was like it didn't exist. Sarah's anxiety spiked. She started sleeping with a nightlight, a small act of defiance against the unnerving glow from downstairs. She felt a creeping dread, as if something unwelcome had seeped into their home, invited by the light. Lily, however, was drawn to it. She was paler with dark circles under her eyes, but every morning, Sarah would find her daughter already downstairs, her face turned up to the light as if she were basking in it. That are supposed to comfort you become the source of your deepest fears. If you're finding this tale chilling to the bone, do your old pal a favor and slash that subscribe button. We have plenty more nightmares to share, and you wouldn't want to be left in the dark. Or would you? Section 3. The darkness gathers. Blackness. Except for the Miller's living room. It wasn't comforting anymore. It was a terrifying beacon in a sea of darkness. The light didn't seem to illuminate the room now. It seemed to consume the darkness. It was tall. It didn't move. It just stood there watching the circle of light, radiating a palpable wave of cold and malice. Sarah stifled a scream, grabbing David's arm so hard her nails dug in. David's breath, and the figure was gone. There was no discussion, no rationalizing it away. What they saw was real. The light, it doesn't keep the dark away, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. It invites it. Section 4, the climax sleep, offered no escape that night. The air was thick with a waiting silence. A cold dread washed over her. Then she noticed Lily's bed was empty too. David? She whispered in a panic. No answer. She scrambled, except for the incessant low hum from downstairs. She's down there, he choked out. Sarah followed his gaze. Below, in the center of the golden glow, stood Lily. Her back was to them. The light seemed to pour into her, bathing her in its sickly amber radiance. Lily! Sarah screamed, running down the stairs. As she moved, the light flared with a blinding brilliance, seeming to rise from the shadows. From there. This time, it wasn't just a silhouette. It was a horrifying creature of shadow and form, solidifying as it drew closer to the light. But towards her shadow, which stretched long and twisted on the floor, the entity wasn't in the light. The light was its gateway. The flicker, the creature. It all clicked into one terrifying truth. He bolted past Sarah, his eyes scanning the room for anything. His gaze landed on it. The whispering rose to a deafening shriek. The entity turned its featureless face to him, a void that promised total annihilation. Without a second thought, David swung the poker. He didn't aim for the creature. He aimed for the source. The poker slammed into the brass lamp. The eternal bulb shattered. It didn't just pop. It imploded with the sound of a human scream, a ghastly, suffocating darkness. The horrifying shriek of the banished entity faded. The watching presence was gone. The cold had lifted. The only light coming from the distant moon through the window. They moved out a week later. They never really spoke of what happened. Modern apartment far away. David was an accountant now, haunted by a simple household chore. Any time a light bulb would so much as flicker, he'd replace it immediately, his hands trembling. They were scarred, but they were whole. They had learned a terrible lesson. Some things are meant to burn out, and some darkness, once invited in, can only be banished by destroying the very light that called it. The scene fades back to the crypt keeper, who lets out a long, satisfied cackle. Chuckles, it just goes to show you. The next time you think you've found a bargain, you might want to consider the hidden costs. Might be lurking in the fine print. Or in the filament. Until next time, boils and ghouls, remember to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what household object gives you the creeps. Pleasant screams. Cackles as he closes his coffin lid.